Why do we do things this way? Let me get into this. The sending the email from your Gmail account or your Yahoo account really puts you in a position where you can get past the gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are people who are put in business very specifically so that you don't talk to the boss or the decision maker. I have a gatekeeper. Most people who run businesses have gatekeepers and whatnot. But unfortunately, if you want to help them with their marketing business, you have to talk to the decision maker. And so you have to get through the gatekeeper. So this way, it really puts you in a position where you get to the right person, and then you can actually have the conversation, add value. They'll see who you are. They'll see that you're good, and then you can get on to the next thing. Remember that all salespeople have whiskers, okay? This is, when you're talking about cheese and whiskers, there's sales resistance all over the way. I mean, if somebody sends me an email and wants to sell me something or joint venture, unless they can really get my attention, I'm not going to look at it. And most business owners are that way, especially since they're so busy, okay? When you're selling something, you're considered noise, okay? Because people are busy and overwhelmed. I mean, think about it. If you yourself had people, I mean, when you get a sales call, or somebody tries to sell you something via email, etc., and so on, it's you want to be able to really show them that you have the cheese that they want in a way that's not going to create, the whiskers. So that's why this works. So how to find the cheese. Okay, first of all, listen to that quick start audio, okay? That quick start audio really, I mean, Perry does an amazing job of explaining how you go about doing this. But I'm going to get into some of the little pieces of it because there's some questions on, well, how do I prospect? First thing I'm going to tell you is take a look at the niche sheet, okay? This is a copy of it here. And you can see that you have, you start from A and you decide which ones you want to go for. Ones that you might have some care factor for. Accountants, air conditioning repair, on and on and on. Let's take a look at, I don't know, let's just pick one here. Italian restaurant. Okay, so let's take a look at Italian restaurant. So let's go to Google, and this is how you find the cheese. Okay, so Italian spells if I restaurant. And I'm going to go Tampa because that's my local area. Now, the truth of the matter is, you probably don't want the guys that are on page 1 because they're already on page 1. So you want to go to a back page, maybe page 2 or page 3. Now let's take a look at this. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at this. Look at their website. And it's got music too, which I hate, but that's besides the point. I always seem to pick these ones that do this. I'm going to go to another one because I don't want to talk over their music. But let's find another one. All right. Now, somebody once said, how do I find their cheese? Well, first of all, to find out how to contact them, this is where you'd put your little information, okay? And or they'll put their email address right there. Sometimes they have it. But here, you want to know what these guys, their cheese is? They put it on their front page. Private dining, okay, and party planning. So if I was to email these guys, I would say, how many people would you, how many people can you handle for a private party and whatnot. And I would get to know the guys pretty well, and I would go through a bunch of these in this location. This looks like a nice place. I think I'm going to go there. But that's besides the point. But you see what I'm saying is each business has their own cheese. And you'd want to figure that out. And you'd still want to go to somebody who's on a further back page. Okay, here's another one. okay? Um, and you'll look at this. This is about the company, okay? Um, and they see the different meals, which look really good. On and on and on. And again, a restaurant, they're going to want to do catering. They're going to want to be able to do large parties. I mean, think about what's the highest ticket item that that kind of business is going to need. So, they even got a little press, which is wonderful. Okay, so let's take a look at something else. I mean, I know Perry mentioned this in here, but let's take a look at different industries and whatnot. And in here, they'll give you, you can try to find their place page, which might have their email address, or here and whatnot. You can even call up and say, what's the email address? I have some sales questions or whatnot, and get it that way. So that's one thing. And take each niche, like let's go back to this niche sheet. Let me find it. There we go. All right. Limousine rentals. I mean, what would be a limousine rentals? What would be their cheese? That would be, consistent people who need limousine services. So it would be like, do you do airport runs, or do you handle wedding parties and whatnot? And you try to find the cheese. Optometrists, it could be, do you take insurance, or if you're talking about dentists, a big thing for dentists would be cosmetic dentistry, and to find out, you'd say, how how long would it take to get an appointment, which would be an indicator of how busy they are or not. So you just got to get that each business, when you go to it, they're going to give you their cheese for the most part on their website. This restaurant didn't do a great job of it, but let's look at cosmetic dentist. And again, you don't want to go to any of the guys over here. You want to go to guys on page 2. All right. And some of these results are actually wrong, but take a look at it. Let's take a look at this guy. Here's meet the doctor, office tour, our services. All right, and they give you all this stuff. So these are their money things. This is what makes them money, is the services. So we don't want you to go ahead and use a very rote email, because first of all, if you cut and paste and do the same email over and over again, you will get flagged as spam. So that's why we say only do about 10 a day. Pick your industry, and start that way. So, but that's how you figure out the cheese. And look, if some of it doesn't work, and sometimes it doesn't, you go to the next one, and it's pretty simple. But that's what you do to prospect. Okay. Now here's how you write the emails. We don't want to template them out just because of the spam issues, as well as you want to make this your own so you feel comfortable with it, okay? So you want to, you just want to easily write your own personal cheese emails, okay? And you figure out what the cheese is, and you ask them, do you handle, implants if it's a dentist, or do you, can you handle, do you take on, hotel clients if you're a laundromat, or restoration, or on and on and on. So you figure that out. And then when you get questions back, I wouldn't acknowledge them so much as ask more questions, because you don't want to be disingenuous, and, be honest about, that you're really, trying to see if they can handle the business you can bring their way. So you want to just keep the conversation going. So this is the formula for that, and it's the first email is the open. Do you, and then insert the cheese there. Do you, do you, but, and then once you have that open, the second email, once you get a response, is the conversation. Can you handle X amount of business? Ask a bunch of questions. Engage them, but don't be deceptive. Usually, when you do this, even by number 2, you can be pushed to the decision maker. But, at this point, you're just asking questions back and forth. The third email is what we call the turn, and that's you ask questions that you specifically that only the owner can answer, and you put your phone number on the email finally, so that they can now see this and they will pick up the phone and call you. I'm telling you, this works. And then you give them the 16-second pitch, which is, I reached out to you because I wanted to make sure if I brought you business, you could handle the volume. I can have you on page 1 for Google for the term. Insert cheese here. It might be implants, Largo, Florida, or cosmetic dentistry, whatever it is. And I can have I can have you on page 1 of Google for insert cheese here in 24 hours. I'm only going to charge you $20 for this, and if I can't do that, you don't have to pay me. Sound fair enough? Yes, great. Then set up the appointment and for that day or the next day. And when you go there, what you do is you give them, say, listen, here, I only talk to clients. I just want you to sign my little client agreement, and I don't always do this, to be honest with you. Sometimes I just send them an invoice, but it really does from a psychological standpoint. I mean, I have a lot more authority than most of you guys do because a lot of my guys have, a lot of my clients that come to me are referred. But you just get them to acknowledge that they're a client, and you can do that by getting them, giving them, an invoice to sign that they acknowledge it. And make sure that it says, $20 to get on the front page of Google for the keyword guarantee. If we don't do this, then you don't owe us anything. And at that point, you set up the account using the quick start and surprise them and say, look, I have a surprise for you. Most guys, we can go ahead and I'm going to give you a $100 coupon. So that $20 you spent, you're actually $80 ahead. Because most of our guys are getting accepted with Engage within a day or so. And most of these campaigns go live in 3 hours. So then you set it up using the instructions on the quick start in module 3. Now you're not going to go ahead and do a huge campaign. You're going to do one keyword, one campaign, one ad. If they decide to continue with you, then you'll charge them a nominal fee and continue to do that. And then you can go ahead and get a little bit more down and dirty once you have a budget and they've seen some results. Now, explain that you only talk to clients, and and it's true. It's like, why would you go ahead and again, it's a psychological thing that they see that that they've now committed to being a client. So so now you're a client. Let's go over these questions, and you go over the audit questions, which really exposes what they need to do, and and 9 out of 10 times they'll say, what does it cost? How can I get you to do it? And you don't have to sell them that day. I mean, Perry suggests you make them beg and not sell them that day. And 9 out of 10 times I'll say, look, let me do a little bit more research. I can't really give you any numbers, or let me see what I can, let me take a look, and then we can go over it in a few days. But there's where all your upsell opportunities are from there. The other thing is keep in mind that this is a long-term strategy. When you have shown some results, you really want to get the guy to agree that you're the agency. Say, look, let me be your agency. I'll handle all this stuff. You're really, really busy. Just pass me all, the inquiries you get, all the stuff that comes up. It's not going to cost you anything, but, I'll be able to deflect what's good and what's not good. And this allows you to coordinate all the marketing, which is really smart, because if you're not coordinating all that, you're going to have people who are working against each other with different messages and whatnot. So it's just smarter for the client and smarter for you. And you're the go-to guy, so that they don't have to have 10 different managers. They don't have to have a social media manager and a mobile manager and a text messaging manager and a AdWords manager, blah, blah, blah. You just coordinate all that. The other thing is it keeps competitors out, because your clients will forward you all inquiries. They won't even talk to the guys, and that's a really cool thing. So there you have it. A little bit more on cheese and whiskers and how to find the cheese and how to take care of that, and and your pitch. Find us on the Facebook page. We finally figured out that address. It is facebook.com official instant local traffic. There's a couple hundred of you guys are already there, which is great, asking questions, and that's where you can find me until we can get to the coaching calls, okay? So there you have it. I'll talk to you next time.